The arena was built for war. Tall black walls circled the open ground. Blue lights burned along the edges like cold fire. Thousands of alien warriors filled the seats, their armor shining under the bright sky shield above. Heavy weapons rested on their backs. Their glowing eyes watched the center platform. Today was not a normal day. Today was choosing day. Every 10 years, a predator cub from the Dark Claw bloodline chose its bond partner. The cub did not choose by rank. It did not choose by orders. It chose by instinct. And once it chose, the bond could never be broken. The War Council sat high above in a half-circle of iron thrones. Each council member wore ancient armor carved with old battle marks. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were sharp. They expected greatness today. Below them stood 20 warriors from different species. Huge bodies, thick armor, battle scars, medals of victory, and, at the far end of the line, stood one human. Ethan Cole. He looked out of place. No heavy armor, no glowing weapons, just a simple gray uniform and light boots. He was not tall, not muscular. His hands showed no scars of great battles. Some alien soldiers laughed quietly when they saw him. A mistake, one whispered. Humans are too soft, another said. Captain Rylox stood near the front of the line. He was massive, nearly twice Ethan's size. His armor was dark red, scratched and burned from many wars. A long scar across his face. He was a favorite. He glanced at Ethan and smiled slightly. Stay behind me when the cub comes, Rylock said quietly. It will not even look at you. Ethan did not answer. He kept his eyes forward. The giant steel gates at the end of the arena slowly opened. Silence fell over the crowd. From the dark tunnel, the predator cub stepped out. It was smaller than many expected, about the size of a large wolf. Bright orange fur covered its body, soft but thick. Its eyes glowed silver white, sharp and aware. Tiny claws clicked against the metal floor as it walked. But there was something else. The air felt heavier when it moved. The cub stopped at the center of the arena. It looked around slowly. Every warrior held their breath. The cub first walked toward the largest alien general. The crowd leaned forward. The general knelt proudly. The cub sniffed him, then turned away. Murmurs spread across the seats. It moved to another decorated commander. Sniff. Pause. Walked away again. The War Council shifted in their seats. The cub continued down the line. One by one, it passed warriors who had destroyed fleets, warriors who had crushed rebellions, warriors who had never known defeat. The silence grew uncomfortable. Captain Rylock stepped forward slightly as the cub approached him. This is it, someone whispered. The cub stopped in front of Rylock's. The captain knelt with confidence. The cub stared into his eyes. A long moment passed. Then, the cub stepped around him. Shock rippled through the arena. Rylox's jaw tightened. The cub kept walking. Toward the humans. Soft laughter came from the higher seats. Let it examine the weak ones, one council member said with dry amusement. The cub moved slowly along the human line. It ignored the first, ignored the second, then it stopped, in front of Ethan. The arena went completely silent. Ethan felt every eye on him. The cub lifted its glowing silver eyes and stared directly at him. Not past him, not through him, at him. Ethan did not move quickly. He did not try to look strong. He slowly lowered himself to one knee. The cub stepped closer, close enough that Ethan could see his own reflection in its eyes. For a second, nothing happened. Then the cub pressed its forehead gently against Ethan's chest. A sharp gasp echoed across the arena. The orange fur brushed against the gray uniform. The cub made a low sound, not a growl. A hum. Captain Rylox stood up fast. This is impossible. But the cub turned its head sharply toward him and growled. The sound was deep, too deep for such a small body. It vibrated across the metal floor. Not playful, not confused, protective. The War Council members slowly leaned forward. Ethan carefully lifted one hand and placed on the cub's head. The cub did not resist. Instead, it leaned closer. The glowing blue lines in the arena walls suddenly flickered. No one noticed at first. Ancient symbols carved into the stone floor began to glow faintly under Ethan's boots. The air felt charged, different. One of the oldest council members whispered quietly, "The bond has formed." The crowd was no longer laughing. They were staring. The weakest human had been chosen, not the strongest warrior, not the most feared commander, a human with no medals, no armor, no visible power. The cub stepped to Ethan's side and sat down calmly, tail wrapping around his leg, like it had always belonged there. High above, the War Council did not smile, because something in the old record said this. When a dark claw cub chooses against expectation, it is never a mistake. It is a warning. And in that moment, though no enemy ships were yet in the sky, the first shadow of war had already begun. The laughter did not stop after the choosing. It only became quieter. But quieter laughter is more dangerous. The War Council did not trust what they had seen. A predator cub choosing the weakest human was not just strange. It was dangerous. It challenged tradition. It challenged power. And power does not like being questioned. High above the arena, the council leader stood. "The bond must be tested," he said. His voice echoed through the massive structure. "If the human cannot survive trial, the bond will be declared unstable." Gasps spread through the crowd. Captain Rylock stepped forward immediately. His pride had been wounded, and everyone could see it. "I request command the trial," he said. Permission was granted. Ethan stood calmly in the center of the arena. The orange cub sat beside him, silver eyes glowing softly. It looked peaceful, almost harmless, but the air felt heavy again. Metal doors on the far side of the arena opened with a loud grinding sound. From the darkness came 3 war beasts. They were not normal animals. They were bioengineered monsters used for battlefield training. Thick black skin like armor, long curved claws, teeth sharp enough to cut steel, red eyes filled with hunger. The crowd leaned forward. Even experienced warriors shifted nervously. Ethan had no weapon, no armor upgrade, nothing but the cub. Captain Rylock's voice boomed from above. "Begin!" The first beast charged instantly, shaking the ground with every step. Ethan did not run. That confused the crowd more than anything. Instead, he placed one hand gently on the cub's back. "It's okay," he whispered. The cub's ears twitched. The beast leaped. In that exact second, the cub moved. It did not look fast. It vanished. One blink. It was no longer beside Ethan. The next blink, it was on top of the charging beast. A flash of white light burst from its tiny claws. The giant creature froze mid-roar, then collapsed to the ground like a broken machine. Silence. The second beast attacked from the side. This time Ethan moved. Not away. Forward. The cub appeared beside him again, perfectly matching his step, like they shared one heartbeat. The second beast swung its massive claw. Ethan ducked at the exact right moment. The cub leaped from his shoulder. 2 clean strikes. The beast crashed into the arena wall. The third monster hesitated. It had seen what happened. For the first time, fear appeared in its red eyes. The crowd had stopped breathing. Captain Rylock gripped the railing tightly. "Finish it," he shouted. But Ethan did not attack. He stood tall. The cub stood in front of him. The third beast growled, then slowly backed away. It refused to charge. It refused to fight. The arena erupted into shocked whispers. War Beast did not retreat. Ever. The cub did not chase it. Instead, it turned its glowing eyes upward, toward the War Council. And this time, the growl was louder, deeper. It shook the metal seats. The blue lines, the arena walls flared brighter than before. Ancient symbols across the floor fully activated now, glowing beneath Ethan's feet. One of the oldest council members stood up suddenly. "This is not a normal bond," he said quietly. Captain Rylock's voice trembled slightly for the first time. "What are you saying?" The old council member looked at the glowing markings. "The Guardian bloodline has awakened." Murmurs turned into alarm. The Guardian bloodline was not just a predator species. It was a royal protector strain, created long ago to defend the entire alliance during extinction wars. They did not choose strength. They chose balance. They chose the one who would not misuse power. Below, Ethan slowly looked around the arena. He did not smile. He did not celebrate. He simply rested his hand on the cub's head again. The cub leaned into him calmly. Like nothing extraordinary had happened. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed from the sky. The protective shield above the arena flickered. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. A mechanical voice announced, "Unknown fleet entering orbit." The entire crowd turned toward the sky. Through the transparent shield dome, massive dark warships appeared in formation. Silent, threatening. Captain Rylox's face went pale. "The Iron Dominion," he whispered. They were enemies who had tried to steal Darkclaw cubs before, and they had never failed. Another explosion shook the arena. The shield cracked slightly. People began to panic. Warriors rushed toward exits. Council members shouted orders. But in the middle of the chaos, Ethan remained still. The cub's silver eyes burned brighter than ever. For the first time, its orange fur began to glow faintly, like fire under ash. The old council member looked down at Ethan and finally understood. "The cub did not choose weakness," he said slowly. "It chose protection." Another blast shattered part of the outer shield. Enemy ships descended closer. The war had arrived, and now the entire planet's survival rested on the weakest human and the predator cub that chose him. The sky broke open. A massive blast shattered the arena shield. Glass-like energy rained down in glowing pieces. Above, the Iron Dominion fleet blocked the sun. Their ships were black, sharp, and silent, like knives hanging over the planet. Sirens screamed across the city. Panic spread through the arena. Warriors rushed for weapons. Commanders shouted orders. The War Council began emergency evacuation. But in the center of the chaos, Ethan did not move. The orange cub stood in front of him, silver eyes burning brighter than ever before. Another explosion shook the ground. Dominion dropships pierced through the broken shield and landed hard inside the arena. Heavy metal doors slammed open. Armored soldiers stepped out, tall, mechanical, cold. Their leader walked forward slowly. His armor was dark silver, his helmet shaped like a blade. His voice echoed to the broken arena. "Hand over the Guardian Cub." Silence followed his demand. The War Council looked at each other. Some of them hesitated. The Dominion commander continued, "We know what it is. We know what it becomes. Give it to us, and your planet will survive." The words hit like a weapon. Captain Rylock stepped forward, injured but standing. "We do not surrender our bloodline." The Dominion commander tilted his head. "Then we take it." Weapons powered up with a high mechanical hum. They aimed directly at Ethan, because in their eyes, he was the weak point. "Remove the human," the commander ordered. Blaster fire exploded toward him. Time slowed. Ethan did not run. He did not scream. He stepped forward, and the cub stepped with him. The shots reached them and froze midair. A pulse of silver energy burst outward from the cub's body. The air cracked like thunder. Every Dominion soldier was thrown backward. Metal armor dented. Weapons shattered. The crowd gasped. The cub was glowing now, not softly. Bright. Its orange fur moved like flames in wind. The ancient symbols on the arena floor flared fully alive. Energy lines spread across the ground, climbing the broken walls, reaching toward the sky. The old council member fell to his knees. "It has awakened," he whispered. The Dominion commander stood up slowly. "This is impossible." The cub let out a roar, not the small growl from before. This was ancient, deep. It shook the entire city. Above, Dominion warships flickered as their systems failed. Energy beams from the arena shot into the sky like pillars of light. The cub was not just bonded. It was connected to the planet, to the defense systems buried deep beneath it. Long ago, when Extinction War almost destroyed them, the Darkclaw Guardians were created as living keys. They could only activate planetary defense when bonded to someone worthy, not someone strong, someone steady, someone who would never abuse power. The War Council finally understood. The cub had not chosen muscle. It had chosen restraint. It had chosen heart. The Dominion fleet began to fall apart. Ships lost power. Engines failed. Defense cannons turned against them. One by one, the enemy vessels exploded in the sky. The Dominion commander looked at Ethan through cracked armor. "You are nothing," he hissed. Ethan looked back calmly. "Maybe," he said quietly, "but it chose me." The cub leaped forward. One controlled strike. The commander's armor shattered, and he fell unconscious to the ground. Silence returned slowly. The sky cleared as the last Dominion ship retreated into deep space. Smoke drifted above the broken arena. The War Council stood frozen. Captain Rylox walked toward Ethan slowly. His pride was gone. He removed his helmet. Then he knelt, not to the cub, to Ethan. One by one, the alien warriors followed. Thousands of armored soldiers lowered themselves in respect. The weakest human stood in the center of them all. The cub's glow faded back to soft silver. It returned to normal size. Small again, it leaned gently against Ethan's leg. Peaceful, like it had done nothing extraordinary. The old council member stepped forward. "We laughed," he said honestly. "We judge by appearance. We almost surrendered our future." He bowed his head deeply. "Forgive us." Ethan looked around at the warriors, at the broken arena, at the sky that was now quiet. He did not look proud. He did not look powerful. He looked thoughtful. "I'm not your strongest fighter," he said simply, "but I won't run when things get hard." The cub made a soft sound, almost like agreement. From that day forward, humans were no longer called weak. The War Council rewrote their laws. Strength would no longer be measured by size or scars. It would be measured by who stands firm when fear arrives. And across the galaxy, a new story spread. The predator cub did not choose the weakest human. It chose the one strong enough not to need to prove it. And the War Council never laughed again.